One day, my mother-in-law suddenly told me, "You're going to take care of your father-in-law for the rest of your life. I'm going to live with my new daughter-in-law." I stayed in SOC. She was basically saying that my husband was having an affair and that she supported it. She was even planning to live in his mistress's house at my in-laws' house. My father-in-law was in a wheelchair and needed constant care. Even knowing this, my husband and his mother decided to live with the other woman. What they did was unforgivable, but I felt torn and didn't want to abandon my father-in-law. Just when I wasn't sure what to do, my father-in-law finally stood up for himself. Let me introduce myself. My name is Linda, and I'm 30 years old. I married my husband, Bo, and we've been together for almost 3 years. At first, we got along very well, but lately, we haven't talked much. Perhaps this is what they call getting too comfortable. The more you know someone, the more the relationship stabilizes, and you end up wanting a more settled life. Our married life was fine, but it felt boring. About a year ago, Bob's job became more hectic. He started working overtime and going on business trips a couple of times a month, something that had never happened before. He always made sure to cover the household expenses, and I had a job too, so I wasn't too worried. Sometimes when he came home early, we would have dinner together and catch up. From the outside, it might have seemed like our marriage was cooling off, but it wasn't true. That was just our usual way of life. But then one day, everything changed when I came home from work. When I arrived, my husband was already there. This was strange because he usually didn't get home until after 10 p.m., but it was barely 7 a.m. He greeted me by saying, "Welcome back." I replied, "Boff, you came in early today. You weren't supposed to be working late," but he quickly said, "That's not important right now. My dad was in an accident and is in the hospital." "Wait, your father?" I stayed in SOC. He explained that his father had been in an accident on his way to work. A car ran a red light and hit him. Fortunately, he didn't suffer life-threatening injuries, but the accident left him paralyzed in both legs and one arm. Now he would need a wheelchair for the rest of his life. My father-in-law was in an accident. It's no fun. I couldn't believe it. My father-in-law loved outdoor activities, like hiking and fishing. He often took my husband and me on trips and treated me like his own daughter. He always said, "If you ever have any trouble, don't hesitate to come to me." Now, to think that he would be in a wheelchair was simply heartbreaking. My father-in-law had his own company, while my husband worked for another company. So, we weren't informed about the accident right away. We only found out when my mother-in-law called us. Because of the situation, we weren't able to visit him as often as we wanted, which was frustrating. With a serious expression, my husband began to talk. "Linda, Mom asked me to do something for Dad." I asked, "What did your mom want?" "She's asking if we can help take care of Dad." "Take care of your father?" "Yes, Mom is getting older, so it's becoming difficult for her to do everything alone. She wants us to move in to help out." "So, you mean we'd have to live at your parents' house?" "That's right. There's plenty of room there. What do you think?" I stayed silent. I really respect my father-in-law and care about him a lot, but I couldn't just say, "Sure, no problem," and agree to something I'd never done before. Not that I didn't care, but I also have a job. How could I suddenly take on the responsibility of caring for someone full-time? I thought long and hard about the best solution, but no matter how much I thought, I couldn't come up with a good answer. At my hesitation, Bob took my hand and looked me in the eyes. "Linda, I need you. I know it's going to be difficult because it's the first time, but if we leave everything to Mom, I'm worried she'll collapse too." I replied, "It's going to be difficult, but I have a job too." "Linda, you can quit your job. I'll take care of the expenses. So you could focus on taking care of Mom and Dad." "Quit my job?" It was at SOC. "Yes, I'll earn the money and support you. That's why I need you." "Our family needs you," Bob pleaded, even kneeling. After thinking it over, I finally decided to quit my job and dedicate myself to taking care of my father-in-law, just like Bob had asked. A few days after we moved in, Bob suddenly announced, "I'm going to take over Dad's company and become the president." Even my father-in-law was shocked, but I could see he was secretly happy. With tears in his eyes, he said, "Bob, I can't believe you said that after all this time insisting you wouldn't work for my company." Bob replied, "Well, Dad, I've changed my mind. Seeing you like this, I can't let the company go under. I'll do the best I can." "Thanks, son. I was wondering what to do with the company. I thought I'd have to leave it in someone else's hands. But if you're willing to take it over, I'd be happy to pass it on to you." "I knew you'd say that, Dad. I promise to do the best for the employees and make it a good place to work." With that, Bob took control of the company, and my father-in-law stepped down to become chairman of the board. Normally, a chairman of the board has many responsibilities, but my father-in-law left everything in Bob's hands, keeping only the title. It's been 2 months since Bob became chairman. Every day, he gets home past midnight. At first, I thought it was because he was adjusting to his new role and working hard, but coming back late each night, something didn't seem right. What made me even more suspicious was the strange smell on Bob's clothes. One night, I couldn't sleep and stayed awake waiting for him. As the hours passed and he still didn't return, I began to feel restless. One night, I got up to get a glass of water from the kitchen and heard the front door open. I quickly went to the entrance and greeted my husband with, "Welcome home." But as soon as he walked in, I noticed a strong smell of soap coming from him. When he saw me, he acted surprised. "What? Why are you up at this hour?" he asked. I couldn't sleep." "Bo, you've been coming in late every night lately." "Well, I can't help it, can I? I've taken over Daddy's business, and there's a lot I still don't know." "I can see that. It must be hard for you," I replied. "I'm tired." "I'm going to bed," he said, trying to walk past me. But that strong smell of soap hit me again without thinking. I grabbed his arm and asked in a firm voice, "Bob, who do you usually work overtime with?" "What? Why are you asking that out of the blue?" He responded defensively. "I just noticed a nice smell on you. How am I supposed to know? I'm working hard every day and you're questioning me over something so small." He grumbled, looking more annoyed than I'd ever seen him. His irritated reaction only made me more suspicious. I wanted to ask more, but I didn't know how to push him without making things worse. Bob sighed and said, "Seriously, will you stop? I come home exhausted, and you immediately start questioning me. It's not a pleasant welcome." "I didn't mean it like that. I was just curious." I tried to explain. "So, we can live comfortably because I work hard every day. Do you understand?" "I understand," I replied quietly. "I mean, if you have time to talk about this nonsense, why don't you clean instead?" "I don't have time for this," he yelled and ran upstairs, leaving me alone in the living room. When I checked the bedroom later, he was ignoring me, scrolling through his phone. Even when I tried to apologize, he still pretended I wasn't there. The next morning, my mother-in-law confronted me, her face full of anger. "Linda, I heard you accused Bob of cheating on you yesterday," she yelled. "I didn't accuse him. I just asked him who he was working overtime with," I explained. "That's suspicious enough. Do you even understand that you can live here comfortably? Because Bob works hard? Do you understand?" "I know, and I'm grateful. I just mentioned my concern. That's all." "How rude. What are you trying to accomplish by making Bob uncomfortable?" "You're a terrible wife," she yelled. After yelling at me, she left all the housework in me and stormed off. My mother-in-law has never liked me in front of my husband and father-in-law. She pretends to help with the chores, but I'm the one who does everything. I also take care of my father-in-law every day. She often finds excuses to go out and only returns at night. My father-in-law usually he stays in his room, so he doesn't realize how rarely she's present. Sometimes people from the company come to visit him, but other than that, he barely leaves his room. My mother-in-law also told me not to share anything with my father-in-law or Bob, so I have no choice but to stay quiet and do all the housework and caregiving myself. The only thing that keeps me going is my father-in-law. Whenever I help him, he looks at me sadly and says, "Linda, I'm sorry. You must hate taking care of an old man like me, right?" "Not at all. I consider you my own father. It's an honor to help you." Hearing that makes me so grateful. "I'm so glad that a wonderful person like you married Bob, and I'm happy to have such a kind father-in-law." I responded with a smile. Although my husband and mother-in-law often bore me with their words and actions, my father-in-law's presence is what keeps me going. It's part of my routine to help him get ready for bed and turn off the lights when he's comfortable. One night, I returned to the living room after putting him to bed. To my surprise, my husband was there with my mother-in-law. Although she usually wasn't home at that hour, she had a strange smile on her face, as if I'd been talking to her about something. I felt uneasy, and then my mother-in-law said something completely shocking. "Oh, what a perfect twang. I have something to tell you," my mother-in-law said. "I'll get to the point. You must take care of your father here for the rest of your life." "Mother-in-law, what are you talking about?" I asked, confused. "I've decided to live with my new daughter-in-law. Of course, Bob will come with me." New daughter-in-law. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What was she talking about? Why wasn't Bob saying anything? Just then, Bob pushed a divorce paper in front of me and said, "I have a girlfriend. My mom and I will move in with her. Whether you sign the papers or not, you still have to take care of Dad." I felt my heart sink, and I fell to the floor. Bob and his mother began packing up their things, leaving me alone in the living room. Tears began to fall silently when suddenly my father-in-law appeared in his wheelchair. "Linda, it's a little noisy. What's going on? Why are you crying?" he asked with concern. I told him everything that had happened. His expression hardened, and by the time I finished, his eyes were full of determination. Then something unexpected happened. My father-in-law stood up from his wheelchair. "Linda, it's time to fight back." "Hey, your legs," Enoch stammered. "Sorry to hide it, but I've been able to walk for a while now. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. I've been preparing for this." He pulled a large brown envelope out of a drawer and showed me what was inside. There were several documents. Evidence of Bobby's infidelity. Surprisingly, evidence of my mother-in-law's affair. He also explained to me that since Bob took office, he had hired some trusted employees to monitor his activities. It turned out that Bob left work on time every day but didn't come home until very late. My father-in-law even hired a private detective to follow Bob and found out about his girlfriend. He also asked the detective to investigate my mother-in-law and discovered her infidelity. "What do you want to do, Linda?" he asked tenderly. "I want revenge on them." "I understand. Leave it to me." My father-in-law made a call, and just a few days later, Bob was demoted from his position as SEO. I filed divorce papers and demanded compensation from Bob and his girlfriend through a lawyer. A week later, Bob came home furious and panicking. "Dad, what's going on? Just because I was unfaithful means I should lose my position as SEO," he yelled. "Shut up. You didn't care about me or Linda. You're not fit to be in a leadership position, much less to continue being my son," my father-in-law replied sternly. "I'm cutting ties with you. Never come back." But Bob stammered, falling to his knees in tears. He turned to me and desperately begged. "Linda, please, I'll break up with my girlfriend. Just don't go through with the divorce. Convince Dad for me." Even now, he was only thinking about himself. I looked at him, completely disgusted. "What are you talking about? Dropping the divorce? I feel amazing to be free of a horrible person like you. Why would I come back? But the divorce papers. I thought they were just a threat." He cried. "No, it's done. You were fired and divorced. This is your fault. You made these choices," I replied firmly. I kicked him out the front door and could still hear him crying outside. "Help me. I was wrong. I won't cheat again. So please forgive me. Linda. Dad, don't abandon me. Not my father-in-law and I." We responded to their desperate pleas never again. After the divorce, my ex-husband and my mother-in-law were ordered to pay alimony. They were kicked out of the mistress's house because they separated quickly and ended up with nowhere to go. They were so desperate that they had to live in a comic book cafe for a while. Bob paid me alimony, and his mother paid my father-in-law, which used up all their savings and left them in debt. Now they are homeless, struggling to survive, and working odd jobs just to get by. In the meantime, I stayed at my father-in-law's house to take care of him. Although I am no longer married to Bob, he told me, "You're welcome to stay here as long as you want." Which made me grateful, so I decided to continue living in the house with him. Recently, my father-in-law started going to a day center during the day, so I started working during those hours. There will be challenges ahead, but no matter what, I want to continue doing my best to support my father-in-law, There will be challenges ahead, but no matter what, I want to continue doing my best to support my father-in-law. Those words are not just a promise. They're a reminder of why I chose to stay by his side when others began to drift away. He has always been more than just family. Through marriage, he has been a mentor, a quiet strength, and, in many ways, a second father. Age has started to weigh on him. Some days, he forgets small details. Other days, his steps are slower than before. Yet in his eyes, there is still that spark of resilience, the same spark that once built everything we now have. Supporting him is not a duty, it is an honor. I know the road ahead will not be easy. There will be doctor visits, difficult conversations, and moments of helplessness when I wish I could do more. But I also know there will be laughter at the dinner table, stories shared late into the night, and simple walks in the garden where his wisdom flows in quiet sentences. My best may not always look perfect. Some days it will be patience, other days it will be a listening ear, and sometimes it will simply be sitting in silence so he knows he's not alone. Life gives us roles we never expect, and this is mine, to stand with him, to honor the years he gave to all of us, and to ensure he feels valued every single day. Because love is not measured in grand gesture, it is measured in steady presence. And that, above all, is what I intend to give. Prompt Dejai J's Pahil Dejai H.